welcome once again to my channel, Say Something with Mads, where I invite youth from across the globe. Every week, they come, they share their opinion, their views, their perspectives on topics which are very close to their heart. And this is the platform for them to come and open their heart and talk to me. This, I invite all the youth who are listening, please come and share your views and opinions on this channel. And I must share that it's a very happy occasion that it's almost 2000. We have reached almost 2,000 subscribers, and this is all because the love you have shown towards this youth channel, and I meant to continue this for the longest period of time when I want everybody to get connected and listen to what our youth and what our Gen Z has to say. So today I have Shantanu Majumdar with me. Hi, Shantanu. How are you doing?
Hi, so nice to be here. I'm fine. I'm
Thank you
good.
so much for being here today. And you won't know, you won't guess what the topic is. I won't divulge the topic, but we have every week something new. And it's so interesting that this youth come out with these topics, which is very close to their heart. So first, let me just dive in and know who Shantanu is. I know Shantanu from childhood, and though we haven't met very often, but I know about him. His family is very close to me, and I have recently seen him grow up into this dashing young man, and he is about to go on his journey of further education. So I want Shantanu to introduce yourself, Shantanu, and tell me this beautiful name, Shantanu. Where is this? I know is it from Mahabharata somewhere, the connection? I would love to know about
Yes,
your name
yes.
and also about you. Go ahead.
As a matter of fact, Shantanu is a character in Mahabharata.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was the king of Hastinapur.
yes.
And it also means somebody wholesome. The word Shantanu is a Sanskrit word which means
Okay.
wholesomeness. And so this name was given to me by my grandfather.
Oh,
And coincidentally, his name is Devabrata, who in Mahabharata happens to be the son of
oh,
Shantanu.
yes, yes, yes. If you know the Mahabharata's first few episodes, we remember all this
Yes, at the very beginning.
at the very beginning. Yes.
So, and about more about me, I have always been a wild child of sorts, which uh, and by that I mean while other children were playing cricket and football, I was in the lawn catching bugs and trying to identify them.
Oh,
So that interest in me has started very long back, especially around when I was, say, 10 years old. I had this obsession about dinosaurs, which gradually evolved into something even more, diverse. Other than why, so
how old are you? So
I
let's
hold I'm sorry. Let me just get that
take
out of the
those
way.
things done. Get those things done.
Yeah. I'm a 23-year-old and I'm from Mumbai. I'm currently waiting to fly for my masters to New Zealand, and I'll be doing masters in environmental science from University of Auckland. Um, Moving ahead, I have reached this point through a lot of uh, ups and downs, and one being that my bachelor's is a little bit different from the master's I'm trying to pursue now. I did my bachelor's in engineering
Oh,
from Mumbai
really?
University. Yes.
Okay, okay, okay.
This is because I had this role model who was a photographer. Her name is Jenny Maria. She's a chemical engineer.
Oh,
And so I thought that just being a photographer or just being in wildlife wouldn't give me the quality of life I wanted.
yes.
So I started preparing for engineering, and but then while I was doing engineering, I realized that my passion goes far beyond just keeping it as a hobby.
Hmm.
And I decided, since environmental science is such a interdisciplinary field,
Hmm.
that I will divulge into more broader scenarios, and try to
Get
get
ahead. Yeah.
myself into the field which I am interested in.
I will come to this a little later, but I would
Yeah,
like to ask you that as I know, and we have to tell our audience that today's topic is about wildlife conservation and wildlife photography,
absolutely.
which is Shantanu's
Right.
passion, and it is such a beautiful topic, and it's something resonates with me as well on a personal level. So I wanted to ask Shantanu that I have seen your Instagram account. Can you tell me what to our audience what's your Instagram account is so that they can also see some beautiful pictures of it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my Insta handle is Fidgety Wren. Now that's a very interesting name. I'll
Yes, I
tell you
want to know
what's
that.
the. I've always been very. Now that goes against what. Yeah, I've always been very. What do you call it? Chanchal.
Ah,
And so a wren is a very small, cute-looking bird, and well, it describes, and that bird also happens to be very, very hyperactive, always up to something. So I thought that name described me very well, hence the
wow.
name.
Lovely. So I had seen your photography and they are amazing. You are just 23 and they are so beautiful. And but
Thank you.
I want to take you back to that first camera, that first journey, that what went in your mind when you had your first camera and how did you start? What was your first photographical gadget and what was it? It was on your which birthday you got it or how did all this start? Just take us back to your journey of photography.
Uh, that goes back when I was around, when I was in fifth standard, maybe. My mom bought this camera for clicking, well, family pictures. It was a very small
Yes.
square camera, which you probably all of us had at some
Those
point of
days,
time.
yes, yes.
Yeah, those
Which
days.
had a role, right? You have to insert.
Right, that one. And
Correct.
well, that ended up being used way more by me than my family.
Okay.
Um, what got me interested into wildlife were birds. Birds are the easiest form of wildlife that you can observe because
Mm-hmm.
they're everywhere and they are very beautiful.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
I'll share the story of how I got into
Please, please.
wildlife photography.
Yes.
So, my parents have always been very supportive of this craze of mine, and I've been to a lot of wildlife sanctuaries and other wild places in India. So, we were at Kaziranga National Park, which is in Assam,
Assam, yeah.
and I was doing my own thing, trying to find insects.
How old were you that time?
I was 10 years old.
That
Uh,
10-year old. That's it. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, I was very young, and as I said, I had an obsession for dinosaurs, which grew into obsession for every living being.
Mm, mm.
And so while I was doing that, I saw this couple with massive, huge gun-like cameras intensely shooting a plant.
Mm,
And I wondered, what are they doing?
mm,
And me being an introvert, I was not very sure if I should approach them, but I still did because it was just something I've never seen.
mm.
And at that point of time, so I approached them, and they were very nice people. In fact, I would go on to say that they are the people who actually, sparked that passion in me.
Wow, lovely.
Her name was Mini Unnithan,
Okay.
and
You
she's
remember her
based in
name also?
Delhi. Absolutely, I remember her name.
This is
And
amazing. Mm.
so what they were shooting was this tiny red bird, which was sitting on the plant, which I initially did not notice. And as soon as they showed me the whole experience they were going through, I was enamored by the whole thing. And then I never turned back, and I'm here right now.
Oh, wow.
And
So you continued, as you said, you mentioned that one word which I was going to ask you. How were you as a teen? You said you were an introvert. So did you remain an introvert throughout your teenager years?
in a in a very big way.
Okay.
I always felt at home in jungles and in places which are wild.
Okay.
So, and this community of wildlife people is very tightly knit. And being belonging to that community and experiencing those people and their experiences has definitely shaped the person I am right now. But apart from that, during my teenage years, yes, I had a very interesting teenage
Journey.
period
Yeah.
journey.
Uh,
And birding and photography in general was a place where I could be myself and do my own thing.
mm,
Even now, whenever I'm feeling low, or
mm,
if
mm,
life is a bit too hard,
mm.
I find escape in photography and just watching these birds and animals.
So just
um,
pictures of them.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, tell me.
and that has impacted me in a way where when I need to be upfront and when I need to, speak up, I can. I have led trails, I have conducted workshops and
Okay.
wildlife, sometimes even compared sessions which are pertaining to wildlife. So
Okay.
that has kind of made me come out of my mold a little, definitely.
Mhm. I can see that when you're speaking, you are very comfortably speaking about the subject, which comes with a lot of passion. And there is like, okay, you would say that youth, whenever the teens, if they have a hobby, it becomes
Mhm.
those years become easier, and
Absolutely.
the angst or the anger within them can come out channelized better if they have a hobby.
Definitely, that's very true. In
Yeah.
fact, I think wildlife has kind of influenced my other hobbies. So I'm into sketching.
Okay.
Early on, I used to sketch just inanimate objects, but soon it turned to be just birds. So that way, even my art has evolved, and honestly, I feel it has become a very integral part of my life now. Wildlife, I think, without that
That's
outlet of going into a forest and just being,
mm.
uh, I wouldn't be the person I am.
So we are on the topic of forest, and you have mentioned that you have been to Kaziranga and many other forests.
Yes.
Just to take this a little, I will come back to your education part a little bit later. But here, tell me, is there any place which you have gone and you said, I have to be there again and again? This is the place where I get the best photographs, or you get the best vibe. Is there something personal which you want to share?
Absolutely. There are places where I would want to just settle for the rest of my life.
Like
There,
what?
uh, Himalayas and the Western Ghats.
Any particular memory of a place where you had the best photographs taken, of birds, as you say, they are very close to you?
Yes. Um, I feel so. I was born in Nagpur,
Yes.
and Nagpur has a place called Nagpur has a ordnance factory and a
Actually.
defense colony, and for some reason, every time I go there, I'm just stunned by the amount of birds I see. And it's very interesting because they are in plain sight, but people seem to miss
Don't
them.
see
That's a
it. Yeah.
yes.
We
And
all grew up there and we never saw the bird. We
yes,
only saw the desert like trees and some shrubs.
exactly.
And yeah, so it needs, I like you, person like you, to know, to see what they're. Oh, Honest Factory has lots of birds, beautiful birds.
Absolutely, absolutely. And not just resident birds. There are birds which come from miles away from some northern countries. And other than that, I think as Ordnance Factory in general has a very good mix of habitats. It has
Correct.
wetlands, it has forests, it has arid zones.
Mm.
So that amounts to a lot of wildlife.
You know, they
Uh,
particularly the factories are made far away from the city for some reason.
Definitely.
So, and those places are very, native kind of areas
Correct.
where you have
Correct.
very
Correct.
good flora.
And why I say Ordnance Factory is also because I get amazing pictures over there.
Oh,
Uh,
right.
so
Mm.
problem with forests is the lighting is very unpredictable, and for good pictures, lighting is the key. How you manage light in your camera is basically what photography is all about.
Mm.
And Honest Factory, since it has a lot of open spaces, it gives very good photos too.
True. Coming back to your subject, you are going to Auckland, you said, in a week's time, and all the best for your future journey and future
Thank you.
whatever you want to take. And I know that you're going to really ace it. Coming to conservation, as we said, that wildlife photography is also a way for you to talk about conservation of habitat. And as a 23-year-old, as supposing I ask you, what can you tell those who are listening that what is this conservation about? Even people think that, okay, we see a documentary, we think for some time that yes, it needs to be done, but
Right.
we don't follow it through, right? There are people
Correct.
who are a segment of people who are doing it, but I think it's like that everyone should think about it. Why not? When we think
Right.
about empathy towards ourselves, it's very big thing. Now think about empathy. Why not empathy towards animals? So why is it so difficult?
Right. I think there is a gap in knowledge, or I'll say gap in awareness.
Yes,
Awareness
absolutely.
is very important when it comes to, so you will not care about something you don't know about,
Mm,
right?
true.
Uh, what photographs and these media content do is they bring the habitat and the animals, say whatever, so say a tiger, they bring them to you,
Hmm.
and that way they kind of bridge the gap.
Interest, yeah.
But uh, but as you said, that sensitization is still lacking, and that empathy is still lacking. I feel that empathy is lacking because of lack of personal experiences with those
Hmm.
creatures, or say with environment in general. People
General.
cannot relate
Hmm.
to what is
You know,
being done, or
yeah.
what is being
So you were
faced.
saying that youth only when we're young, we were only taken to a zoo for animals. Like animals are to be kept
Right.
behind bars. So that is what
Correct.
we grew up with. So isn't it something?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I feel experiences such as, because India has so many opportunities to that one can experience its wildlife.
Hmm.
You just need to take it. There
Hmm.
are so many wildlife sanctuaries. There are
Hmm.
so many amazing wetlands. Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary
Yes.
and Kanha Tiger Reserve. So there are lots of places. You just need to go out there and experience. So what that will do is that will make you understand what you are trying to save
Hmm.
and why is it important to save it.
You must be having some role models whom you follow. So, in your
Hmm.
photographical journey or in your wildlife journey, your conservation, or your love for conservation, who are the people who look up to? Who are your role models in this field of yours?
So there's this person called the Bird Man of India. His name is Salim Ali.
Salim Ali, yes.
He
Hmm.
Salim Ali.
Yes.
I had read his book, The Fall of a Sparrow,
Hmm.
and that book is a must read. It just shows how a person can evolve like a butterfly, like from a caterpillar to a to a beautiful
When
butterfly.
did you read? At what age you read this book?
I think very soon after I graduate, very soon after my 10th
10th
standard
standard.
is when I read it.
Hmm.
Another book which another person I would think is Dr. Bharat Giri. Dr. Bharat Giri is a very good scientist with lots of publications. But what actually inspires me is his humbleness. Like in spite of being a very good scientist with a very good scientific acumen. And the thing is, a lot of people can come up with a lot of ideas,
Hmm.
but actually bringing those ideas to fruition is very difficult.
Hmm.
So when it comes to an academic point of view, I think Dr. Bharat will be a mentor for me. And as I said, there's this person called Jenny Maria. Um, uh, it would be lovely if people go out and check her Instagram page. She is someone whom I have followed for a very long time, and
Yeah.
she is a phenomenal photographer. And what is her specialty is she goes after the rarest of birds in India, in the most rural places, and she takes beautiful photographs of them.
I must, and I will, as soon as I finish this interview, I'm certainly going to go to her Instagram page. And Varad K,
Ah,
I'm going to read about them. Of course, I have read Salim Ali's book when I was very young. Yes, and I can relate that it's a beautiful book. But for people who are more into bird and photography, that's a must-read book, right? So
absolutely.
absolutely. Coming to a question like supposing, yeah, I know that you said that everybody has a journey through the teen years, and now through the photography you develop your personality, and now you are about to venture out of India for your own. You'll be alone. Can you your journey of your photography, some incident, some interesting anecdote which comes to your mind, which you want to share with all of us?
There are some things which are very unexpected, and that kind of stay with you throughout your lifetime. This was a very recent thing. Actually, I was in Gujarat for a birding excursion just now,
Okay.
and there were a few birds which I was targeting. So targeted birding is called twitching. It's sometimes frowned upon because uh, birding should be natural. You should just enjoy birds. But there's this culture of ticking off a life list, like ticking off every bird from your life list. So
Hmm.
I was looking for some birds, and there is this bird called the McQueen's bustard,
Okay.
which is a very highly endangered bird and is very rarely sighted, and absolutely not sighted in the place where I was in.
Hmm.
And I was photographing this falcon trying to eat a lark.
Hmm.
And suddenly, the guide who was with me was like, "Somebody has seen a McQueen's bustard," and I was just, you
Oh,
know,
your antennas
I
dropped.
was in, I don't know, that experience, like just hearing that word's name was something very special.
Oh,
And we actually drove down to that place, and I got amazing pictures of that bird. And interestingly, that bird was part of a captive breeding program. So these
okay.
McQueen's bustard have been hunted extensively, hence they are very shy, especially with humans.
Hmm.
But since this was a captive bred bird, it gave us very good views since it
Pictures.
was very bold.
Hmm. So what do they do with these birds? I mean, when they're hunted for what? Like, are they the feathers
Mc,
or the flesh
right.
or what?
Right. So McQueen's bustard is a bird which comes from the Arab countries.
Okay.
And there is a culture of falconing where,
Got
they
it.
raise falcons
Yes,
and
yes.
uh,
As a gaming.
they,
Yeah. Hmm.
right. So this is considered to be a very prized game bird there.
Ah, okay. Hmm.
Hence, uh,
Got it. I've seen this many a times now. I remember that these birds' names are very unfamiliar now, that this name will stick to
right.
my mind forever. Now, coming to my another question before I move to another fun segment is what kind of, what would you say to the people who are thinking of doing all this, but the first thing they want to do is to buy a very fancy camera and say, that's it. I buy a good camera and I am done. I'm a photographer. So what that patience, the perseverance, all that is not seen. Most of the people buy the
Right.
camera for the sake of, okay, first is the most costliest camera they buy. So what camera you own now? On is it something a very high end, or you aspire to buy some bigger lenses? I remember I think there are quite a lot of, this is an expensive hobby, if I may say so.
It is. It
How is
is
it?
very expensive.
What kind of camera you own now?
I I am still at the I'm at the starting line when it comes to
Camera.
photography.
But then it comes out such beautiful photographs. For photographs have come from
Exactly. So I
that
am coming to that point. So I think photographers should start small,
camera.
and they should hone their skills and move their way up.
Mm,
That's the natural progression in most of the things. I so it is not impossible to click good photos with cheaper cameras.
yes,
It's just that you need patience.
yes.
And I feel directly jumping to massive, heavy, fancy cameras would only result in disappointment because these cameras
Are
are
not easy
heavy
to
and they
handle.
are difficult to use.
Absolutely. Mm,
So one thing to consider is these most wildlife is fast and transient. They won't wait for you. They are not going to model for you. What you need is flexibility. And I feel a good camera would be something which is light and which gives you opportunity to actually move. And adding on to that, I would say that my camera P900 is a very basic camera. It's not even a DSLR actually. It's a
Okay.
bridge camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. After this section where we had this intense discussion, some fun parts also. Now is something which I will ask you, and offhand answers I want from you. All right. If you have to make a rule in the house which goes for everybody, one rule which you
Right.
have to make with each one of the family members have to follow, what would that be?
That's an interesting question too. I think that would just be your switching off the lights when it is not required, or like basically just being green and just trying our best to save energy.
All right, lovely.
Because yeah,
This is
that's
amazing answer coming from a true environmentalist. Okay, so that rule will be anybody caught not switching off will have to pay a fine or something.
absolutely. That sounds wonderful actually.
Yeah, actually, we will do it as a like collection of money for
Every day would be
every day of the
Earth.
lights not switched off. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Now is the time when I give you an opportunity to ask me one question. So what would that question be?
Right. Okay. So this I had in mind.
Okay.
So as the ambassador of sustainable energy and
Yes, yes,
sustainable
yes.
management in UN, what is your role
Okay.
as being in a leading position? How do you manage? So, for example, if I am to be an ambassador for anything which has to do with being in a leading position, what would be your guidance to that person?
Good. So what happens is that there are so many opportunities to become ambassador. To become a UNSD ambassador is not
Right.
something like a mind-shattering position. Okay, everybody can
Right.
be UNSD ambassador if you are passionate
Right.
and if you commit to doing something throughout the year. So when I became the UNSD ambassador, and there's a magazine in India which is called as Namaste India magazine, which is run by the government of India. It's an e-magazine.
Right.
So I used to write articles regularly on sustainability. And so their owner, they said that since you write regularly on it, so we will make you the ambassador. So then that ambassador
Right.
means that somebody who consistently is aware about things, won't bring the topics. Like I talk about sustainable clothing, sustainable fashion, something which is close to
Right.
my heart. I will not be able to talk about poverty and hunger sitting at home
True.
when I cannot do anything. What I can do, I can influence is the youth. So where I talk about is that whenever during the talk show I make a segment to ask sustainability questions, and I write a lot of articles. I blog about articles. If somebody else writing, I bring. So when I continuously do this, then when you apply for United Nations ambassadorship, like, okay, there are so many categories. I'm just a volunteer, I'm just a basic ambassador. So you would say that I have done this kind of work, and then you become an ambassador. But you have the right to write that UNSDG ambassador only when you have a certain body of work for consistency.
Right.
So my work was to write, and whenever I have youth, I have done this kind of activities. Like this, I'm doing is for the youth. So they are very
Right.
big on youth empowerment and giving them ideas. So this is what is the journey is in Dubai. Since I came here, I've been doing a lot of small things like food wastage cube,
Right.
and water, saving water, plastic ban, the plastic ban on plastics has come. And so just to make people aware, so I have a small youth group. So it's very small things, but you keep doing. Yeah.
But they make a difference,
They make a difference, and
especially
I did not
collectively.
do anything big. So whenever I used to teach in school, so I would say that, like as you said, that whoever doesn't switch off the lights will have to pay the fine. So there were so many things. All the 17 goals of United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, the 17 goals,
Right.
the children should know them. So that is my aim. Like all the 17 goals should be like that is as an ambassador. All
Right.
right. I
So
like this
I
question.
just
This is so interesting that you asked that. Okay. Thank you so much, Shantanu. Before we end, I always ask you, is there any favorite movie which or any series or anything where you see it's a wildlife must for people who love wildlife? Would you like to share? And how would you like to end this podcast with some quotes or some thoughts for the people who want about conservation?
Yes, so there are these two pieces of art, I'll say. These are docu-series made by David Attenborough, and one is called The Blue Planet, and then is Our Planet. Both, in fact, Our Planet is available for free on YouTube. You can just Google Our Planet and watch all the episodes on YouTube for free. In fact, that was like a whole, that's a very interesting story, actually. So, a group of professors reached out to Netflix and told them that we will pay for all your losses, but just make it available for everybody. It's
Oh,
that good.
that's so interesting thing. I must share it with all everybody that
Definitely.
this is for free and how these things have like somebody has actually made it free for everybody.
Absolutely. It's very inspiring.
Wow, lovely. Thank you, Shantanu, for
And
sharing this. And
yeah, I would end this talk by saying um, wherever you are, in whichever state you are, you can always contribute to our planet, to Earth, in any small way you can, and it always helps in the long run. Especially we are at a junction right now where our choices would absolutely shape the world which our predecessors would face, and we want to keep a clean green world for them, obviously. And whatever choices we make will lead to that.
and
So
conscious thinking all the time.
conscious thinking, and you actually need not do something very substantial. Small steps, add on to make a change.
So this is something which is really very, very thoughtful, and I'm so glad that I had you as a guest today. And we had
Thank
some
you so much. It was
and
my
had some,
pleasure.
yes, it was an awesome conversation and something which we rarely talk about. So this is something,
Definitely.
and I'm so happy to have you. So all the best once again to your on your journey, and let's keep in touch. And I hope you do a lot more for environment and continue your passion of photography. I would love if you can share some pictures with me so that I can share it with my audience.
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So, see you again next week with a new guest. For now, today, say goodbye. Say something with Mads. Subscribe to it, follow it, and share it. And all the you to those who are listening, you are welcome to my channel anytime you want to talk about anything close to your heart. Bye bye. See you again. Cheers.